Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to TraderMerlin. It is your... What day we are? It's Tuesday. So I know. I had my crypto session this morning. Man, I'm losing track of time over here. Hope you did well today. Meme frenzy continuing. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit. I feel bad for... I think his name was Gary. Gary, I hope the damage control on that GameStop short position you had is under control, because that thing just went wild again today, up another 60%. But I will show you that and many other charts as we progress today. Now, as most of you probably are aware, we did have we'll just say a slightly higher than expected inflation number come out today. Much more significant than what was expected. Here is the numbers for today. There's your PPI. Let me zoom in just a hair, make it a little bit bigger for you guys. There's your PPI number for the day. Now, the previous month's reading was a negative 0.1, which actually showed a contraction in PPI. The expectation was we're going to see it jump up to 0.3%. And then ultimately we came out at 0.5%. Now, not really much of a surprise, because we've seen energy prices have that nice big pop, and I think that is the big factor to this. But nobody can deny that we're seeing a pump in inflation. Now, how long will it go? How big will it be? How much will it impact markets? How much will it delay rate cuts? That is all to be seen. What we can say is the markets, almost like they gave the middle finger today to it. How do I know that? Well, if you look at the number that came out, it was significantly higher than expected, which is way higher than the previous reading. And the market initially knee-jerk reacted. It shot down and then came right back up and was literally like, we don't care about PPI numbers. I'm kind of here with Big Ed. He says the PPI didn't hurt things at all. CPI, yeah, I was really surprised. So as you guys know, my plan for today was if I get that S&P down below that number, which I can bring up, that's my short opportunity, but I wanted that during regular market hours, not during pre-market. And we'll see here. In pre-market, I got my alert on my S&P because it shot down there, and I still have the alert in place. That number right here is 5232.50 was the number I have in my head. So I set an alert for the 75 just to see, let me know. Now, the good news is I wasn't awake when that actually dropped below. Why? Because it was before market opens. Here is your pre-market. And you can see here, right as that announcement came out at 5:30 in the morning Pacific time, we did break down below my 52.32 mark. We ripped below that thing, and then we rallied back up. So when I got to the markets, it was 6:30 in the morning on the open, watching that open, and I was just waiting for this thing to sell off. I wanted to go short all day. I was like, God, this is going to start to tank here. And for whatever reason, markets decided to keep on rallying, and I did not pull the trigger on the short on the S&P or SPY, which is what I was going to trade. I was really surprised that it never broke down below that 52.32 mark, because it is pretty bad news. Now, in the grand scheme of things, yes, I do personally believe that CPI has a bigger impact than PPI. However, they're both impactful. You would think that one would impact the other. If, in fact, it costs so much more to produce these goods and services, that should get passed on to consumers at some point. I'm pretty sure you'd all agree that businesses aren't going to eat the cost of increased production costs. They're just going to pass it on to us. So we are ultimately the ones that will foot the bill for that. So I brought up the numbers. Jay Powell said the data was mixed, not hot. Yeah, it was mixed. He's actually not wrong, Andres. Here's the table that I think speaks volumes. If you look at, I know this is kind of hard to read. My apologies. Maybe let me see if I can bring my pen on the program. I normally don't like to, because he's been giving me problems lately with this dang pen. But I do want to draw some stuff for you so you can at least highlight this and see where we're going with it. Okay. So if you notice here, I'll circle the big columns that are important. Up the top, you got foods and feed, energy goods. All right, those are your two prime categories, food and energy. Well, you notice that April actually had a contraction. We're at negative 0.2 for food. So food prices are dropping. And, we could validate that by going out here and looking at some of these commodities have had a pretty nice drop. Others have not. But let's go look at things like wheat. Right? Wheat has been in a pretty consistent slide, at least today. But for the daily time frame, it's bullish. I mean, this thing's been screaming to the upside. So not happening on wheat. Corn also showing a pretty big surge. You have lean hogs. Live cattle. So live cattle is one of the only ones in here that over the past 2 months has had a pretty nice slide. You look at coffee, of course, that's had a good sell-off for the last month. You look at cocoa, massive sell-off, but that's not, I don't believe that's a big weighting in the food category. Orange juice might be a little bit more significant, and orange juice was really flat for the past 4 months and now ripping again, screaming to almost all-time highs here. What do I have on cotton? So cotton, probably a big contributor to this, a big sell-off, although that's not going to be food and feed. So, Liz says, not seeing a drop in my groceries. You know what? I need to do a show on how to save 30% on your grocery bill. I mean, every time I go to the grocery store, it's a game for me on how to save the most money. It's actually not so hard to do. Just got to know how to game the system. So anyway, looking at that data and then looking back over here, this is for processed goods for immediate demand, right? So this is end user oil, for example. Now notice what happened with energy. Energy goods was the big, what's going to move forward on me? Energy was the big gainer here. 1.6% move up in energy for the month of April. But when we look at this side over here, the energy materials, the raw input cost, 8.2%. That's huge. That is actually a monstrous pop there compared to all these other numbers. And of course, you can look back historically and go back into 2023. It's no surprise that crude oil or energy is the most volatile segment of these calculations. It's, you can see back in July of last year, we're up 10.1 and 6.0, dropped 7.6. So it's all over the place. But this big reading here of 8.2 to the upside certainly does not make people feel warm and fuzzy about the cost of goods and services. I even put on some arrows for you. Bam, bam. Those two. And I said that since the beginning of the year. I said that crude oil will be the most pivotal piece and key piece for the year with regards to prices, because as I believed at the beginning of the year, I thought that we would see crude oil rally. I thought that we would see inflation start to rise. And if that does, then I think that there's going to be no rate cuts this year. I mean, I said one just because I think they do it as a token for the election year and a little glimmer of hope. But if these numbers we just showed you keep on rising, Bill Addis may be right. We may get a rate increase. And I mentioned this before. If I have to choose between a rate cut and a rate increase, I personally believe that there shouldn't be any rate cuts. There should be rate increases. Simply because if inflation is still high like this, you must continue to put pressure on it. The markets are doing great. For people that are complaining, oh, well, it's hurting my investments. No, it's not. Here's your S&P. These current rate levels are fine, right? We've been at this 5.5% for quite some time now, and it's just been ripping and ripping and ripping. So, even if they did some rate hikes, it doesn't mean necessarily this is going to come crashing back down. Bill Addis may actually win that wager here by the end of the year. I'm very curious to see what happens. The biggest surprise for me for today was the simple fact that the S&P shrugged this off like nothing. I was really just blown away by that for the S&P 500. All right, let me see. I got a whole bunch of questions and comments coming through. Strong reverse in the futures? Absolutely. What else we have? Not seeing a drop in my grocery prices. Again, we'll find ways to do that. Middle of the week, during the day, use the app for extra coupons. Right, Indigo, you got to use the app. So grocery stores have a special app. The one I use is the Vons app. It's called the Digital Deals or something. When you go in there, you'd get the typical store coupons, but then you get like these huge discounts on some things. I mean, sometimes it's like 50 to 60% off an item, and you're like, you know what? I'll just buy a few of those because I need them and I like those. So that's the way you really save a lot of money. Do you know if there are minis for wheat and corn? I don't believe so, Mike. I don't believe that there are for corn and wheat. Just the major indexes and crude oil. And I think you've got a couple others, but I don't believe they're into the softs yet. I don't know. That I do not know. No problem, Ricardo. Good to see you, Ricardo. But is it inflation or corporate greed? It's a good question, Indigo. It's inflation, I think, masked as corporate greed. And I felt this because I used to eat out a lot. And now I'm actually I'm not stopping, but I'm curtailing a lot of my going out to eat because the prices are just simply not worth it for me to go and eat anymore. And I don't we could look at the Habit, for example. I mentioned the Habit as one of my burger joints I used to go to with Larry every Friday, which I miss now that Larry has moved. My gut doesn't miss it, but when I started going there, it was like $8 and something for a number one combo, and now it's close to $13. And has their cost increased that much? Well, if you're using live cattle as an indicator and talking about the cost of beef, well, over the past couple of years, it certainly has risen dramatically. I'm a barbecue guy, and I know the price of a good ribeye. Great deal on ribeye is $5.99 a pound here. Now you're seeing it for $8 to $12 per pound. So, if those core costs of your inputs to a burger joint or to a taco restaurant have increased significantly, then they do have to be passed on. I think that you're right, Indigo, that there is a little bit of greed wrapped up in there. Mike, is there a mini or a micro? I didn't know there was a micro for those. But I think there's some element of corporate greed. What I think will be the problem is if these things subside and inflation starts to come back down, I don't foresee McDonald's or these restaurants dropping their prices again. It's simple things you learn in basic, marketing classes and business classes is if you can raise the price of your goods and services 50%, but you only lose 5% of your clientele, then keep your prices where they're at. Forget those 5%. You're making a lot more money on a big portion of your clients. So they'll keep it there unless you and I show our disapproval with that by not promoting and supporting those businesses. That's usually where the tire meets the road. All right, let's see what else I got here. I was all surprised by this strong reversal. Yep. Use the Kroger app. Kroger's a good one. Vaughn's the highest. They are the most expensive, which is why you use the app and you can save tremendous amounts. So yeah, I don't usually go there. I won't buy things unless it's on some sort of sale at Vaughn's. It is the most expensive one. Now I'm spinning. Okay, not spinning, but it looks like my video was frozen there for a second. You go out, which costs $17 on the weekend days, around $11 when you're not going to eat anymore. Larry's still with OTA Indigo, absolutely. He just moved to Indiana. Margaret says, I'm so tired of shrinkflation. I am as well. It is actually interesting when you go and look at some of the shrinkflation sites because you have candy bars have gotten smaller. They're just shaving off a little bit of a candy bar, or they're taking off something that used to be 64 ounces is now 58 ounces. It's like, oh, but it's still a quart or a gallon of milk. Well, no, a gallon of milk should be 128 ounces. Oh, well, it's 110 now. What? No, that's not a gallon. Yeah, it's crazy how these things have been shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. But I'm watching. I'm paying attention to it. Let's see what else I see here. Big Eb says, if corporations are making X percent of profit, they will continue to make that percentage on a higher cost. Correct. But my point was, Big Eb, if all of a sudden the cost of those inputs, let's say it's a burger joint and the cost of beef drops 30%, will you see McDonald's or will you see Habit or In-N-Out drop their prices 30% because their inputs have dropped 30%? I don't believe so. I think it'll stay at corporate greeds, and I don't think that those prices will drop. And you're going to start, and because of that, what we should see down the road is increased profits. If inflation subsides and some of these prices of commodities drop significantly and businesses keep their numbers where they're at, then their profit margins are going to be much bigger, and therefore their earnings maybe in Q4 or getting into next year might be better. So we'll have to wait and see. In a lot of things, Rob says reduce quality. Now, with food products, you would hope that the quality doesn't diminish. I know with goods and services, I've witnessed quality diminish because they'll find a metal knob and replace it with a cheap, injection molded plastic piece. And now a lot of the electronic stuff we have today is garbage compared to what was around decades ago. But and that's just part of the process. Competition, though, should bring prices down soon once inflation goes down. It should, Carlo, but, if you could collude with each other. So if I'm the directors and execs at In-N-Out, I'm probably talking to some people I know over at Burger King or McDonald's or some of the bigger, fast food chains, and I'll make it clear to them that we're not going to lower our prices. We don't plan on lowering our prices, and just set that tone so that nobody does, and therefore my profits and revenue will be better. What'll happen? The only way that would work is if In-N-Out says we're going to keep prices right where they're at, but McDonald's drops 20%, and then Habit drops 30%, and you get that competition war, which I hope will happen, but I don't believe that will. Heck no, they never drop prices, and wages don't go down either. Correct, exactly. That's why I don't think that I don't think that cheap prices are coming back anytime soon. No, I don't believe I'll be able to buy my Habit burger for under $10 for the combo meal. It's at $13 now. I don't think we're going to go backwards in value. So Here's the economic calendar. I want to bring it up just to show you this one. So when you strip out food and energy, this is interesting. Like, what else is there driving? But when you strip out food and energy, you had a 0.5% increase in it. So bizarre to me that inflation, according to PPI, is 0.5% with food and energy factored in, and it's also 0.5% with food and energy taken out. Okay, riddle me this, Batman. So that's what happened today. If you scroll down here, food tomorrow, which we'll look at again in a little bit, you do have the other one, which they're showing a expected contraction, a reduction in core CPI, dropping from 0.4 to 0.3. The regular CPI number is expected to stay exactly the same where it's at 0.4%. So we'll have to wait and see what those numbers are like. I do believe the market reaction will be more significant to the CPI number. But again, what the hell do I know? I thought this market back here was going to roll over. When we said this, we started making new lows back on April 12th. I was like, here we go. We're going to have a pretty good pullback. I thought we'd see a 10% drop in the markets, and we did not. Now, all of a sudden, it looks like we're challenging all-time highs again. We're right back up to this red line I have got on the S&P at 5263.5. We've actually eclipsed that, and, I mean, based off that, it means trends up, higher highs coming. So, stranger things have happened. Markets always seem to perplex me. Let's see. Well, as an investor, I don't want my NVIDIA and others to cut prices regardless of cost, but the consumer... that's the conundrum we find ourselves in, right, Big Ab? It's like, okay, I want my investments to go up in value. I want my companies that I own to have record profits and blowout earnings and, double, triple in value. But then again, if I buy those same goods and services, I don't want to buy my GeForce video card for $500. I want it for $400. So, which side do you fall on? At least I think we're all fortunate enough, lucky enough to be able to have disposable capital to invest in these markets and have that problem of, I want my investments to go up in value, but I want cheaper goods and services. Some people don't have the investment side and they just want cheaper stuff. So let's see. Ganesh, if PPI is high and CPI is low, isn't that even bad, meaning that the producers are not passing the price increase to customers? Correct. And there, I've noticed that there's usually, it seems like there's a 1 month lag between PPI and CPI. And if we go by that, let me go and show you the historical numbers here. So let's go by the previous month. So again, it feels like there's this 1 month lag. So if we go to PPI, and I'll show you the chart here. Oops, let me zoom in here and scroll down, move over. Come on. Okay, so there's your PPI data. And you can see that the previous number was a pretty sharp drawdown. We went from 0.6 down to 0.2. Shocked expectations. Everybody expected 0.3% for the past 3 readings on this, and we've been, above and below it. So the previous one was a 0.2. Now, if we scroll down here and go to the CPI number, there you go. Is this right? No, that's Empire State Manufacturing Index. My bad. That is not the correct chart to look at. Here we go. Here's your CPI number. Look at that CPI number. Hold on. Yeah. That's year over year. You want the month. There's your month over month. The CPI has been steadily increasing, where we haven't seen that sort of consistency with the producer price index. It's been all over the place. So consumer price indexes for the past 6 months have been consistently rising. We're showing 0% change on CPI back in November of 2023. And all of a sudden, here we are. Higher. We've had every month has been either equal or higher to the previous one. Guys, this happened to me earlier. I'll move this over to here. This happened to me earlier in my session today. For some reason, my computer switched over to a different network, so something happened with this internet. I'm back. I'm not sure what that was. Strange. I saw it happen on my end too, so something's going on with this computer. I'll have to do some research on it and fix this computer. Not only do I get to run the whole dang show, but I also get to do tech support for my own show. Ay. What a pain. Now, I'm back. So going back to this, remember we were talking about inflation numbers of 2%, right? That's what the Fed's goal is. So a 2% inflation would mean we need to be at 0.2 or less on CPI number, which is where my horizontal line is right now. You're seeing, right here is 0.2%. And obviously, we can see that historically we've had a lot of spikes, particularly in 2021, 2022, that are way higher than that. These ones back in here. Well, really, for the past year and a half, it's also been fairly elevated. That might be Rob. I'm not sure what that is. It was my computer switched over to a different network. It wasn't the bandwidth issue, but that was kind of strange. If we, in fact, come out on CPI at 0.4, which everyone expects, that means we're looking at roughly 4.8% inflation on CPI, right? Take 0.4 times that by 12. That's not good. Not good at all. So we'll have to wait and see what this ultimately pans out for tomorrow. But those are your numbers. I think that there's a little bit of a lag. They've been pretty good about getting those expectations on CPI right. So 0.4 is the number they expect. Kind of feel like it should be there, but based on what happened with the PPI today, a spike above that, anything above 0.4, I would think would have a pretty negative impact on the markets because that does forecast rates staying higher longer. Now, the rate numbers haven't really changed. Of course, this does not factor in, I don't know why I'm freezing up again. This does not factor in the announcement today from PPI, right? This chart here only updates once a day, and you can see here it does it with the wee hours of the morning. It does it at 3 a.m. Central Time. So this does not include the recent data. So I'm willing to bet you we're going to see this entire cycle. I'll take a screenshot of it and keep it for us. Let's just do that right now before I forget. Okay, took a screenshot of it, and we will keep that for tomorrow and see. I bet you this whole thing shifts to the side. But it's all going to move over one little clip and show the prospects of fewer rate cuts coming. The next meeting, Margaret? No, it's coming up here next month. June 12th is the next meeting. So if you go to this website, and again, for those who might be new, of course, I don't think I have anybody new here, but I've got all you guys. Let's put it in the chat. This is a great resource for you. If you click on this one, you'll see there's tabs across the top. So we have 4 meetings left for the Fed for the remainder of the year. That's June 12th, July 31st, September 18th, November 7th, and then December 18th is the final one for the year. So I was just clicking on the December 18th just to kind of see, what the expectations are. Obviously, based off what we're seeing now, no one's expecting there to be a rate cut at the meeting in June. That, in my opinion, is foregone conclusion. We're going to stay where we're at. When we go into July, which is where I originally thought we would start to see some rate cuts, but that shifted because of inflation numbers. You're starting to see more people expect their 25 basis point cut there, 28% for 25 basis points in July. And it just kind of progresses there and gets a little bit, the further out you go, the more diverse the expectations are. December really being the big one. There you go. Okay. Hope that answered your question there, Margaret. All right, so let me go and shift from there, which obviously is fantastic. There's a ton of stuff to talk about. We will get to the individual market breakdown here in a second, but I want to get to 2 viewer questions that came through. Obviously, with crypto, everybody's looking to make a ton of money, and it's about, from most people's perspective, it's about trying to make as much money as possible as fast as you can. In my opinion, that's the recipe for losing all of your money, because you're going to get caught up in something, you're going to put your guard down, you're going to buy into investments that are absolute garbage, they're trash, and they're scams. Now, 2 questions came in on specific cryptos, but I'm going to wait 20 seconds because there's an ad coming, and I'd rather start the whole segment after that commercial ad. So I will dance around it until I can get that ad to play, and then we'll continue on. I mentioned before that it takes 7 minutes to create a cryptocurrency. And because of that, anybody, your great-grandchildren, at just a couple of years can create a cryptocurrency. It's easy to do. Anybody can do it. I've done them for my crypto program, and I have 5 that I've created by myself just to see how the process works. So there's over 2 million of them out there. So what happens all too often is people realize that yeah, I know, I'm waiting for the commercial, Oliver, sorry. Yeah, it's Super Pie. That's my shirt, Super Pie. Instead of Superman, Super Pie. I have another one that's actually a pirate, but he's shaped like the letter pi. It's pretty good. No, thank you, Lisa. Yeah, I'm a nerd like that. I like shirts that have kind of these split meanings, and you have to go, wait a minute, what? Oh, that's good. Yeah, I don't usually wear T-shirts on here, but I'm dropping my dress code a little bit. So when you look at this graphic I created for today, thanks to Midjourney, I like it, and I feel like there's a lot of people who are scamming and trying to steal from you. What they will do is they will go and they will find somebody that's a hot topic or somebody that's very influential or something that's really important, and they will create a cryptocurrency with that name. So for example, go ahead and type in a chat, guys. You type in a chat, what do you think? Now everybody do this. What do you think are some of the most media grabbing people, places, or things going on in the world right now? Right? What would you go, ooh, that sounds interesting, based off of a name? Obviously, Elon Musk comes to mind. Andrew Tate. Okay, that's an interesting one. Okay, what else do I got? Andrew Tate. So, Kanye West. Oh, Chris. Ugh, I can't stand that. Trump. Okay. Okay. Ooh, you know what? That one. That's a good one right there, Indigo. Roaring Kitty, Caitlin Clark, Kathy Wood, Donald Trump, Fresh and Fit. I don't know Fresh and Fit. But these are all pretty. Kim Kardashian. She'll always be there. By the way, watching her get booed at the roast. Oh, that was so good. You guys know I really don't care much for her. I got another Roaring Kitty. Taylor Swift. Okay. So what happens is people look at a list of topics like this, and thank you for participating. Ocho Cinco, he's a little outdated now, but yeah, Larry, you're showing your age. Kramer? Which one? Cosmo Kramer or Jim Kramer, Michael, right? Oh, please, Tom. You had to go there. No, somebody who is like celebrity and people actually like. Well, I guess he's convinced people that to like him. All right, good. You guys got it. So here's why I asked you to do that. There is a Tesla coin, because Tesla is just a super hot topic. Everyone likes Tesla. It's all in the media. Of course, the Elon Musk. So someone created a Tesla coin, which doesn't do anything. It's a total scam. And all they have to do is get it out there and get people to talk about it, and people will buy this coin. So I got this one. This is from Johan. This was sent in on, I think, the YouTube channel. So thank you. If it wasn't YouTube, it was through the email. What's your stand on Tesla coin? Does it serve any purpose? Normally, Elon will have some goal with it, or is it another Dogecoin? It has nothing to do with Tesla. Elon Musk has said in the past that he will not create his own cryptocurrency. He will not do that. So this is worse than Dogecoin. Dogecoin actually has a community. And here's another thing to keep in mind. Dogecoin is what's called a layer 1 technology. Essentially, Dogecoin is a Bitcoin clone, right? It's a layer 1, which means it has a network. It has people running computers trying to record all the transactions of Doge that happen. Now, no one really uses it. It's not really a popular network. It's a meme coin that people like to buy and sell and hopefully make money on and pump it up and down. But it does have computers, it has network, it has stuff, it has infrastructure. When you look at something like Tesla coin, what they do is you can go out and you spend, like I said, 7 minutes and you create a little piece of code. It's called a smart contract. And essentially, I plug that into some layer 1 blockchain. I can plug it into Ethereum, into Binance, into Algorand, into Solana, Sui, Aptos, Cardano. All of these are layer 1s. So I literally plug my cryptocurrency in there. I don't have to do anything. There's no security to it. There's no maintenance of record keeping. The blockchain does all that this thing piggybacks off of. So Dogecoin actually has a network. It's like, okay, your stream is jumping screens. Yeah, I have it on the low latency. I'm going to switch it back because I see all kinds of problems happening today. So I will remove that. I have it on ultra low latency because I would rather have timely engagement with you guys, but it looks like it's messing with a lot of you. So I'll remove that. At least go to one step slower. So, Johan, it is a scam. It is absolutely a scam. And, if you see the Ocho Cinco coin or the Taylor Swift coin, do you think Taylor Swift made a coin? Probably not. But somebody, I can guarantee you, has made a Taylor Swift coin and is actually trying to promote this thing. Let me see if I can find any. I haven't looked at this, but let's see if there is a Taylor Swift coin. All right, go to Taylor Swift. Taylor. Look at this. There's multiple. Are you kidding me? This is just absolutely ridiculous. There's Taylor Swift's cat Benji. There's Taylor Swift, literally a Taylor Swift coin called Swift, and the symbol is Swifties. Taylor Swift's cat Meredith. Does Taylor Swift have a lot of cats? I don't know. And look, Taylor Swift's crypto is up 18% today. And this is the problem. This has nothing to do with Taylor Swift. She has no say in this whatsoever. This is a total scam, money grab of people using someone else's name. So you got to be careful with this stuff. Jamie Dimon looks good. The Jamie Dimon coin. Well, it's easy to do, It's real easy to create. And this dovetails into a second question, which was this. And Michael, thank you very much. Michael G is my shot glass king. He says, what is this that Roaring Kitty is doing? Is he creating a cryptocurrency? And this is a screenshot of the Kitty presale. So somebody out there is creating a Roaring Kitty token and is now going to try to sell it, get people to buy it, and create liquidity and create a market. And this is just another meme. If you look at, let me bring it up here real quick. Hold on 1 second as I bring up Twitter. You've got to be careful with this stuff, man. The vast majority of this is scams, and it's bugging me, but what can you do about it? Roaring. If you go to the Roaring Kitty, there it is. So notice the picture in the coin, right? So you can see the picture in the coin, that cute little kitten. And then you go over here. Someone literally took the picture straight from his channel on Twitter. But if you scroll down here, do you see Roaring Kitty promoting a coin? Is he talking in any of these about a coin that he's releasing? If he was really doing it for himself, he would have all sorts of promotions saying, hey guys, I'm releasing my coin tomorrow. Check it out. It's going to help me do X, Y, and Z. We're going to build a community. All he's done since May 12th is post a bunch of videos. And they're interesting. I watched every one of them. It's kind of annoying, but he's just this motivational, triumphant, I'm back kind of video surge. But there's not one mention in here of any coin or any token. So this is a total 100% scam. It looks. I'm hoping you didn't send half an ETH there. It says deposited 5 ETH. I hope pre-sale cap is set at 1,000 Ethereum. Yeah, right. I'm willing to bet you if you sent $5,000, 5,000 Ethereum to buy these tokens, they would take it. Anyway, it says brought to you by the Roaring Kitty. Even says at the bottom the Roaring Kitty, which is his name. So it's a scary thing. It's a scam. Big Eb says, and GME is up 70% today. Shakes my head. Yes. I mentioned that yesterday. He's bringing excitement back. I'm not in GameStop. But, that thing was up huge again today. It was up 60% today. But if you look at its peak from where we closed at yesterday, this was up over 100% again today. And so was AMC. All right, AMC here. Just rocking. Hope no one shorted it here. Yeah. At some point, Big Eb, this is going to be a great short. I'm loving it. Oh, I'm looking forward to a day, but it's going to be a while. I'm not playing with these things right now. Let's look at, what was when we looked at SPWR? SunPower? Was it SunPower? Yeah. Look at SunPower. We talked about that short squeeze on SunPower, and I said this is going to be a better short squeeze. Man, it was up 59% today as well. At one point, it was up, I'm guessing, close to 100%. Yeah, it was over 100% gain today on this one, 104 at one point, and then dropped all the way back down. These things have a lot of room to move, man. Once you start to short squeeze, you guys remember what happened back in 2020 when this happened? This short squeeze forces liquidation. Unless the firms who are short, hedge funds, if those guys are heavily short and don't have capital, they won't be able to get the margin call covered, and they'll force liquidate the position, which means that they're forced to buy back those shares. And let's check out the volume today. Oh, look at that volume spike today. Huge volume spike. This was definitely triggering some short covering on SunPower, but you can probably see the same thing on GME. Right? Massive volume for 2 days. And Roaring Kitty didn't even do anything. He just said, I'm back. Do I think DJT is a good or bad stock? Personally, I think it's a terrible stock. However, when you look at if Donald Trump wins the election, this thing could do really well. Really well. But I don't see it happening, personally. I wouldn't buy into this one with my money. But again, everyone can do what they want with their capital. I don't believe that it's losing money. We've seen that with its recent financials. It's losing a lot of money. It doesn't have increasing subscribers. Not a lot of people are using it. It's a very select group. So, can that change? Could it go public? Or not? Could it? It's already public. When Donald Trump, or if Donald Trump, Freudian slips today left and right. If Donald Trump becomes president again, I assure you he'd be promoting this left and right because he's got so much shares. Now, that, again, raises a constitutional issue because I believe there's something that says a president can't have ownership of a company or can't run a company. In this case, he doesn't run it, but he's got a massive investment in it, and he'd be pumping that crypto or this project for sure. Man, my brain's all messed today. DJT is a political poll, perhaps the most accurate one. Yeah, maybe. I don't know if it's a political poll, but I mean, you know, those that support Trump are certainly much more open to buying this security because it's got his name all over it, right? And that will, Vegas says win for sure. Let's see. In FinViz, the short percent is the same when I checked yesterday and today if stocks went. So there's a delay on that reporting there, Ganesh. I don't know how long the delay is for that short interest to be updated, but it's not going to update daily. Could be weeks for the number to get better. Believable Direction says, is DJT as a way to fund his run? I don't believe so. So what I've noticed, and again, I think some people will probably think I'm wrong, but it seems to me that Donald Trump doesn't use his own money to run for his campaign. He petitions and goes on the road and says, hey, send money to me, and I'll use that money for my campaign. He has billions worth of capital in this. Again, if it stays at the valuations that it's at, he will make several $1 billion out of this. I don't know if he'll necessarily use that for his campaign. He'll go on the road and get his followers to send in money and support his campaign, and he'll use that. But maybe it's his legal fund. This is more personal matters, I think, is what he'd use this for. I think in legal bills might be the one that you'll see him use it for. May explain to me how hedge funds make money? Easy. Hedge funds make money in two ways. They make money on the gains of the assets that they hold, obviously, right? Growth. And then those that buy into the hedge fund usually get a percentage of the gains that they make goes back to the hedge fund, as well as fees, 10 and 2 or 20, 10 and 2, I think is what it is. But they're making money off the people that buy into the hedge funds, and the more gains that hedge fund makes on their investments, the more money the people that are in the hedge fund that invested in it make, and those prop up the hedge fund even more. 2 and 20. Yeah, we saw it 2 and 20, but I think Corey Lane was talking about how they were doing, 1.5, 10 or something like that. They kind of dropped those. I'm not sure exactly what his numbers were, but I remember being surprised because 2 and 20 is kind of the industry norm, but I think he was like 1.5 and 10 or something like that. His fee structure is very different. He has a 6-month lockup period for now, but I believe he owns over 50% of the stock. If he sells and he's a bigger loser, no pun. So here's the thing, Indigo. He's in a 6-month lockup on it, but he can petition with the board of directors to allow them to sell their shares, and that's what was the discussion back here. Is that petition was filed to allow him to sell his shares. So who knows how much was sold back here? I haven't looked at the legal documents, but he cannot sell up before 6 months unless the board agrees upon it. And of course, his son-in-law, he's got family members on the board, so he can sway that board and make it do whatever he wants. So again, to me, this is a money grab. I personally wouldn't buy into it. But hey, everybody's got their own belief on things, and that's cool with me as long as it doesn't impact me. Recently on a hedge fund call, hedge funds are doing a lot of creative ways of making money. I've heard 0.40. Wow. Okay. I'm sure they'll do a lot of different pieces, but they're making money off of commissions, and a percentage of the gains goes back to the hedge fund. Would I explain what float is? Sure. So let's see. Let me come up with a real basic example of this. Let's say you got a box of cereal, right? You got a box of Cheerios. That box of Cheerios is the outstanding shares. That's everything. That's all the cereal you own, all of it. And you get a bowl, and you pour in a bowl of Cheerios. Now, you still have a ton in that box, but now you have a bowl of Cheerios. The only Cheerios you can eat right now, because they're not in a box, are the ones in the bowl. The bowl is the float. It's a portion of the outstanding shares. So when we looked at ARM, my big complaint against ARM was they have 1 billion shares, but only 100 million float, meaning that the only part that we could buy from or eat from, essentially, was that 100 million. So that's the big difference between Float and outstanding shares. Float is what's available in the market for you to buy and sell right now. Outstanding shares is everything. And over time, typically on new companies, they have a smaller float and then they slowly release shares because of lockups, because of many other reasons, but those shares now come to market. So float is the small portion of the total shares outstanding. Outstanding shares is all of it. Hope that helped. Former Carmen Nunez is the CEO of DJT. Really? Man, talk about draining the swamp. You put them all on the board of directors and to your C team. All right. Holy cow, 42 after. Let's look at our market here real quick. I think I might make sure I got everything answered. Okay. So let's run through our top 7. Again, I'm still waiting for that level on the S&P 500, and we'll see if it happens tomorrow. 52.3250 is my line to go short. I want it to open up above there. I am feeling like tomorrow's going to be a down day. If that CPI number comes out high, man, we should see a pretty quick down day. Let's see. Worst performer, Bitcoin. But you look at the chart. Again, I mentioned I am bearish on it right now. I do think you'll see it slowly drift lower. I have this yellow line drawn here. I don't want to see it get to 51,000, but it could definitely get there. At some point, what you will witness here is a stabilization. It'll start to make some new highs, and then it'll all change, and this whole thing, my story will be much, much, much more bullish on it. But right now, you can't be bullish on it. It's just kind of sideways and slightly down. Here's your 10-year on the day. If you look at inside this yellow box, which I've had drawn on here, you had a pretty significant drop in the yield today on that 10-year, but it's still staying within that yellow box. So nothing really, at least in my opinion, to worry about. The only thing I'm worried about is that this gets below 4% by December, because Big Ab is going to owe me a schooner of beer. You get to pick the place, Big Ab, but getting thirsty, getting parched over here, Big Ab. Let's go up one ladder, crude oil. Now, again, this was the major factor in our PPI numbers today, and maybe that's why people shrugged it off. It's like, okay, well, PPI numbers were higher because of crude oil and energy costs, but, it's been sliding for the past month, so this is, no big deal. It's going to erase those in the next month readings, which could very well happen. You did have a 1.39% slide today in crude oil, although it's still just bouncing and stuck right above that yellow box I have on my screen, is kind of outlining the intermediate term demand zone between 77.93 and 76.97. So you got about a $1.20 range right there that is kind of your cushion to help it buoy its fall. Dollar index also down, and I have this line drawn here. This was the breakout point, and now it's all of a sudden retesting that yet again. Doesn't look good for the dollar. I am still bullish on it as they unwind and remove money from supply. I'm getting parched. That's right, Oliver. As they start removing money from supply and retiring these bonds and hiding that cash, then this should move back to the upside, but it just has not for the past month. So kind of strange to see that movement in the dollar index. We already talked about the S&P, which ripped up nicely today. I was still kind of expecting this line to be respected, because these two kind of consolidation days yesterday, these little spinning top formations, shooting stars, whatever you want to call them. We did knife below that, but that was in pre-market. During regular market hours, we still have not closed below this, so I'm still waiting for the breakdown. We'll see if we get that tomorrow. And we did actually, as we saw, run right up into this kind of junk supply zone we had that goes back into early April. All right, podium time. NASDAQ 100 was your third place finisher. Strong. I mean, just continuing to surge here. If we zoom out, as you can see, we're coming very close to those all-time highs yet again. We did have an all-time closing high today for the SPY. Not necessarily here, right? We still have higher to go for the future side of things, but the SPY was an all-time high today. Gold, GC, really not much here. If we see this inflation number tick up, I expect gold to surge tomorrow as well. So we'll see if this rallies up. A little bit bummed it's going to happen with me not holding all the silver I wanted. At least I do hold some physical gold. But gold was up 0.72% today, closing at 23.59. And then your big daddy, the leader, the Russell 2000, which smacked right in that line we had drawn at 2100. Right? I had a line here at 2102, which is the origin of this big drop on April 10th. Today we hit right into it and stalled out. So keep your eye on that level of 2100 again for the Russell. That may actually hit again and act as a supply zone. So we'll have to wait and see how that all pans out. All right, that is it for me. Let's go. We do have, I did your economic calendar already. So we of course have our CPI numbers tomorrow, but there's also a couple other pieces that are pretty important. That's going to be the Empire State Manufacturing Index. That's a biggie. And then you also have retail sales numbers coming out, which isn't as impactful. But remember, we do have earnings coming out this week, and you have a bunch of companies in that earnings space that are dealing with retail. So we have Walmart's coming out this week. I think you have TJ Maxx. You have a few others, and I will show you that right now. Here is what's happening for tomorrow. So you had Tencent Media, that's the big one. You have Toyota Motors, but not really. You had Cisco Systems. Where's the apparel stuff? Not a lot of apparel for tomorrow. So you're lucky on that one. It all starts really, not all starts, but the big names happen on Thursday with Walmart, and you had a couple other smaller names, but we'll get there on tomorrow's show. All eyes will be on video earnings next week. Yep. It's the last big one, right? It's the last major company, particularly one that's leading that charge with AI. So that'll be a very interesting day tomorrow to watch. Or not tomorrow, but next week when NVIDIA reports earnings. But for right now, don't look at NVIDIA. Focus on that CPI number tomorrow. It's going to give you, I think you're going to get a lot of volatility tomorrow. I think tomorrow's market's going to be wild. Okay, that's it for me. That's all I got. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you learned something. If you have something you want me to discuss for tomorrow or any other time, just put it down below any of our YouTube videos or type an email to me and send it to TraderMerlin@gmail.com. Have a fantastic remainder of your day. Go Roaring Kitty. Go meme stocks. I want them higher so I can short some of these things. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.